It's 7 p.m. Wednesday, October 9th. Welcome to the October meeting of the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council. This is an advisory group which supports the Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors, reporting to District 1 Supervisor Joya. And welcome everybody. And I think we can start off the festivities with a roll call.
Thomas Lang.
Here.
Randy Lloyd.
Here.
Dr. Melinda McLean.
Excused absence.
Jan Herman. Mickey Norris.
She's
Hey.
Just say here.
Like that?
Say here.
Here.
Tom Owens.
Here.
And George Cleveland. And Terry Ettinger.
Here.
Yeah. I want to take the opportunity to welcome Jed, who will be joining us at our next meeting as an alternate member. And so we're really glad to have you with us and look forward to sharing this time with you. Okay, so treasurer's report.
Yes, we're still standing at $2,901.
Okay, and approval, have folks had a chance to read through the minutes of last month's meeting?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve it submitted. I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. So before we go on to the presentation, I just, we can do the pledge of allegiance. Do I have a volunteer to lead us?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll start off today's meeting with the update from Supervisor Joya's office.
All right, good evening, everyone. Everybody doing so far? Good, feeling good. Good to see everybody. Cool off. Yes, something like that. So quick update from Supervisor Joy's office in regards to the noise ordinance and issues for countywide. The first task force meeting for the countywide noise ordinance related issues was held last month on September 16th. And residents that signed up to participate received an update from county planning regarding efforts from the county and is scheduled to take, the county is scheduled to take regarding loud parties, vehicle noise, celebratory fireworks, and occasional animal and construction noise. And county representatives are compiling the feedback and will provide an update soon. And jumping down to our San Pablo Dam Road Bike Lane road diet. County Public Works has submitted its Safe Streets and Roads for All grant application. While the Public Works was not selected for the second round of funding, transportation staff has already requested a debrief and will use that information to strengthen a future application. And jumping down to our park road improvements. The East Bay Regional Parks District Board approved an authorization to enter into an agreement to pay 1/3 of the cost of a double chip seal repair for the portion of Park Road that is currently unmaintained. And so Park District staff will discuss next step with the County Public Works staff soon. And finally, Contra Costa County is seeking residents for county advisory boards and local commissions. So these public advisory boards and commissions serve as excellent ways for empowering residents' involvement. And for more information, you can reach out to me directly. And if you don't have my information, I can provide that to you after the meeting or in our newsletter. Some of these things are off.
Yeah, I'd really like to encourage folks to contact Ronnie about these public commissions. Because I've been on a few and they're really interesting, to learn a lot. So contact Ronnie, take a look at the opportunities available. And you know, maybe there's something that will really pique your interest. All right. Anything else? Any questions from the council for Ronnie?
What was the noise or whatever? I know you said something.
Yeah, so the first task force meeting was held last month, so they're just compiling all the information and then going forward next steps afterwards. Yeah.
Any questions for Ronnie from the floor? Or from the council? Okay, well, thank you for the update. Do we have any representative from the fire district? No. How about the Bay Station Sheriff's Office? No? Okay. Highway Control. No. Motion to adjourn.
Nice to meet you all.
So, in that case, we'll move to the fifth item of our agenda is the, water treatment plant improvements in the El Sobrante plant. Anand Burrell and Jim Walter.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Ian Burrell, Community Affairs at East Bay Mud. We've seen each other recently as well. So it will not be myself and Joe, but we have an amazing team that will be doing the presentation. So I'll have some announcements after, but we're ready to jump in when Ronnie says the slides are ready. And please welcome Jay, and please introduce yourself and all the things you'd like to share.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jay Clark. I am the project manager of project, or the new project manager, I should say. Previously, it was Stella Tan who gave the presentation to you all. Made it on different groups within East Bay Mud. So today I'll be here to present to you an update on the Sobrante Water Treatment Plant Reliability Improvements Projects and the draft EIR that was recently released for public review. Next slide, please. So today I'll quickly go over the project, what it is, why we need it, talk about the public outreach that was performed in the past, and then present to you the analysis from the draft environmental impact report, and then talk about next steps. Next slide, please. So Sobrante Water Treatment Plant is located in El Sobrante, nearby here. It serves the northernmost portion of the service area, ranging from Crockett up in the north, down to Hercules, Pinole, El Sobrante, City of Richmond, San Pablo, and all the way down to El Cerrito, Kingston area. So this facility is operated during the summer, during droughts, and during outages of our other facilities. And it gets its water from the nearby San Pablo Reservoir, which is filled by local runoff and also water from the Sacramento River during drought operations. Next slide, please. So we need this project for many reasons, and the objectives are to one, replace aging infrastructure, restore reliable treatment capacity to the full permitted capacity of 60 million gallons per day. Also, to reduce disinfection byproducts, improve efficiency of operations and maintenance, maintain flexibility to treat water from supplemental supplies during droughts, and finally, to increase treatment capacity if or as needed to meet future demands of our customers. Next slide, please. So here's a map of the area. In the orange is the city of Richmond, in green, city of San Pablo, and the remaining grayish areas are the unincorporated communities of Contra Costa County. Down at the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see San Pablo Reservoir. And then if you follow San Pablo Dam Road north and turn on to Valley View Road, that'll take you to our treatment plant. And now the project is divided into two phases. The first phase is to restore capacity up to the permitted quantity or capacity of 60 million gallons per day. And phase two will increase capacity to 80 million gallons per day. So go into Phase one will take place wholly within the property of the Sobrante water treatment plant. That'll get us to 60, and then if needed, we'll move on to phase two, which will take place in two locations. One is at the treatment plant site, and the second site is along the public roads and right of ways in mostly Contra Costa County. A few locations in Richmond, and also a portion in the far west in the city of San Pablo. Next slide, please. Here's a close-up of the treatment plant. Up on the top, you'll see a main road, and then to the left of the treatment plant is Valley View. So looking at phase one, we'll start by demolishing some of our aging infrastructure, and that's shown in the red boxes just left of Valley View Road. And then to replace those and also to augment some existing facilities. In phase one, the new structures are all noted by the orange colored boxes and shapes there. We'll be installing the new reclamation solids handling facilities to replace the ones that were demolished. We'll add a chlorine contact basin to help reduce disinfection byproducts. We'll have a stage 5 flocculation, which will help us get back up to the full capacity of 60 mgd. And then finally, our maintenance facility, which will consolidate all our scattered maintenance facilities under one roof. So that's phase one. Phase two will increase capacity to 80 mgd, and that consists of essentially a parallel process train, improvements in all different processes within the treatment plant. Those are noted in blue. And in addition to the treatment plant improvements, there is a phase two pipeline, which is shown sort of on the bottom left-hand corner, just west of Valley or left of Valley View Road. And that's needed to convey that additional treatment plant capacity from the treatment plant to the distribution system. Next slide, please. So that phase two pipeline, we call the Central North Aqueduct Pipeline. For our purposes, I'll just call it the phase two pipeline. So it starts at the treatment plant and then works its way west down way west on San Pablo Dam Road, across El Portal Drive, down Rollingwood Drive, and then onto Road 20, and it terminates just west of San Pablo Avenue. Most of this pipeline, it's roughly about 4 miles in total. Most of it will be constructed in traditional open cut methods that you've probably seen if you've seen
So is
construction.
that going, I'm sorry to interrupt, is that going on alongside the road or is the road itself being open?
Most of it will be within the road. It depends, the alignment will shift depending upon where other utilities are, so we'll have to avoid those, so. It's whatever space is available in the roads.
What size is the pipeline?
As large as 72, most of it will be 54 inches, but there'll be roughly half a mile of 72. And also there is, to note, a small section right where the pipeline crosses San Pablo Creek, where it'll be a trenchless construction method to get under the creek without disturbing it, so. And I'll come back to that San Pablo Creek crossing, I'll mention that later, so.
What material is this?
It's gonna be steel,
Carbon?
steel, yeah, carbon steel.
Okay.
Next slide, please. So we've done numerous outreaches to the public, including meeting with staff of the local agencies, Contra Costa, City of Richmond, San Pablo, then with the fire department. We had several meetings with the general public to get their input. We met with Supervisor Joya, met with the city, Richmond City Council, and we also met with you all about a year ago, 2023. Next slide, please. So here's a rendering of what it should look like after the improvements. Here, the map is sort of inverted, so you have Valley View on the right and Amen Road down at the bottom. In response to public comment that we received during the outreach, we made some significant changes to the design. Namely, number one, if you look at the basins there that are closest to Amen Road, the public requested a little more space, so we doubled the setback from a main road from approximately 50 to 100 feet. We also added many new trees to obscure the view and provide some cover. Also, the fence along a main road. That was initially our standard 8-foot security fence. In response to the public, we dropped it down to 4 feet in height. And also changed the style to the wrought iron fence that was used or similar to what's at the fire station on the corner. Next, the nearest buildings that are visible to the public. Initially, we used the architectural style that was existing for the other facilities on the treatment plant. But in response to public comment, we changed it to the Mission Revival style that matches the fire station. So a lot of significant changes, and that doesn't even cover up everything that happened underground in order to make this happen, so. A lot of changes. Next slide, please. So we took this project with all the changes incorporated and did an analysis on the environmental impacts from this project. An initial study indicated that there'd be 14 environmental factors or resources that could potentially be impacted. And so our analysis showed that with all the district's standard practices, procedures, specifications, half of these or 7 of these, the impacts would be less than significant. Now, for the other ones, we had to incorporate project-specific mitigation measures. And when we did that, most of them, the impacts were reduced to less than significant levels. There was, however, one noise where even with the mitigation measures, there are still some significant and unavoidable impacts to the public. And I'll be describing that in more detail in the next slides. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to quickly go over the mitigation measures that were incorporated into the project. So the first one is for aesthetic resources. We added a mitigation measure for landscaping. So after 1 year, any project tree that is diseased, damaged, or doesn't grow, we'll replace. And also for 5 years after planting, we'll provide supplemental irrigation to help the plants grow. Next slide, please. Biological. So if you notice on the picture there are blue areas to the north up by a main road and down below. And those are wetland habitats that were identified along with some willow riparian habitat. And so what we're going to do is, as feasible, we'll avoid these areas, these regional wetland habitats. But if it's unavoidable and they become impacted, we will restore them. Or if they are permanently impacted, such as some areas paved over, we'll do some compensation by doing an enhancement or a creation of additional habitat either on-site or at an off-site location. Next slide, please. Now, if you recall, I mentioned that the pipeline of phase 2 was going to cross San Pablo Creek. Well, in that area, there's a potential to come upon the California red-legged frog or the pond turtle. So what we're going to do is install exclusionary fencing to keep these critters out of the work zone. Next slide, please. Cultural, tribal, cultural, and paleontological. So we know from our assessment that there was a previously recorded archaeological site. And we know that there is a potential to come upon artifacts. So what we're going to do is have an archaeological and tribal monitor present during construction, in case we do come upon artifacts. Also, there's a geologic formation called the Orinda Formation, and that's known to have a higher potential to have fossils. So when we're doing work in those areas, excavations, we'll have a professional paleontologist on site in case we do come upon fossils. Next slide, please. Transportation. We have mitigation measures for heavy truck traffic, AC transit, bicycle safety, and pedestrian access. At the water treatment plant site, typical work hours will be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. However, for heavy truck traffic, we'll reduce that and limit those hours from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Also, where the truck traffic goes in front of schools along Valley View Road and Camino Pablo, we'll further reduce those truck traffic hours to 3 p.m. For the phase 2 pipeline, there's also a school at Road 20. We'll also do a similar thing and limit heavy truck traffic from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Also, if any temporary closures of a bus stop or a bus route is interrupted, we will make sure to coordinate with AC Transit. And also, As feasible, we'll try to avoid designated bikeways, but of course, if that's not feasible, we will post detour signs and such to allow for bike traffic. And also, as feasible, we'll try to maintain at least one crosswalk at signalized intersections. Next slide, please. So the last environmental factor is noise here. And our primary mitigation measure are temporary sound barriers to reduce noise levels. And so we'll install them in several locations. So if you look at the map, that is the water treatment plant site. And for phase one, we're gonna install one along Amen Road, and that's shown in that orange line above. We will also install one left of Valley View, is that Valley View Road, where we're doing the demolition work to reduce the noise impacts to those neighboring residences. In phase two, there are also two locations where we'll install the temporary sound barriers. One is at the gravity thickener, those are the red circles up top there, and you'll see a purple line that kind of encases those circles there, those tanks. And the second one is over by the San Pablo Creek, where we're doing the trench system install. We'll also have another sound barrier there. Next slide, please. Another mitigation measure for noise is that in Contra Costa County, we will limit excavation and grading activities from 7:30 to 5:30 p.m. where feasible. And also, there will be some instances where we'll have to do some install of the pipeline at intersections and do some tie-in work to tie in that pipeline to our existing system. And in such cases, we might be required by the encroachment permit, or it may become infeasible to complete that all in the daytime. And so we'll have to do potentially some nighttime construction. And if that's the case, we're going to offer off-site lodging to those affected residences in the vicinity of the construction work that they're going to construct. Next slide, please. Now, even with the sound barriers and the mitigation measures, there are some instances where the noise will still exceed local noise ordinance noise levels. And for phase one, that'll occur along Amen Road where those basins are being constructed. We anticipate that during pile driving, which is a rather noisy activity, that for about 20 days in phase one, we'll be exceeding noise ordinances. Also, concrete pouring is something that we will likely do before, or begin before 7 a.m. We'll start as early as 6 a.m. And the reason why we do this is we like to complete our concrete pours in a single day. And the reason why we do that is that if we disrupt the concrete pour, it affects the quality of the work, while also potentially reduce the lifespan of the structure that we're constructing. So that'll be a little earlier. For phase one, we anticipate about 36 days of concrete pouring that'll occur before 7 a.m. and in phase two, about 33 days. Next slide, please. Also, for the phase two pipeline at San Pablo Creek, that transmission construction is anticipated to exceed noise limits for about 42 days. Also, the construction along the roadways at any given location, it will exceed noise limits for about 5 days at each location. And then if nighttime construction is required, the noise limits for nighttime are much lower than in the day. And we anticipate that at those intersection and tie-in locations for nighttime construction, we get about 5 to 10 days where we'll exceed the noise limit. Next slide, please. Now, those are all the mitigation measures that we've developed for the project. And tomorrow, October 10th, we're going to have a public meeting at 6 p.m. available on Zoom. If you go to the project website, there'll be a link there, and we'll go into more detail about the mitigation measures and what happened with the EIR. The public review period for the EIR will end at the end of the month, October 28th. At which time we'll collect all the public comments and we'll work to respond to them and create a final EIR, which will go to the board sometime next year, hopefully no later than July. And then that'll wrap up the CEQA process for the project. And we anticipate the design of phase one will start in 2027, construction in 2030. And then phase two, that's to be determined because that phase is dependent on whether water demands goes up. So if the water demands don't go up, then it's conceivable that phase two will Any questions? Next slide. Yes.
So, I guess one thing that just struck me is there's a large section of the aqueduct on San Pablo Dam Road.
Yes.
Between sort of Valley View and Appian Way. That's some really heavy traffic. And so it seems almost as if the traffic mitigation is more important than noise mitigation. Because, particularly between sort of, I would say 6 AM and 8:30 AM. That's when you have a lot of traffic going kind of westward on that road heading to the freeway. So between, I would say, 3:30 to 6:37, it's going in the other direction. And so, construction can have a real impact. So I think it would be really important to present to people why you think your mitigation plan has reduced that to a non-significant problem.
Yeah, no, traffic is a concern, and we did do an analysis. There's an entire traffic section with detailed information that was performed. We'll take note of your question, comment. I'm assuming we're going to add that to the FEIR, the final one, and there'll be a response.
Before we take the next couple of questions, I thought we were going fifth, so I have an emergency babysitting and plan to get here at 7:30. I'm glad I was early.
You are fifth, it's just presentations 2, 3, 4, they weren't here.
They weren't here. Gotcha. Just my grandson Noah and my granddaughter Rhea. My name's Marguerite Young. I'm the director for Ward 3. And a couple things that I want to say about this project is that phase 1 is absolutely critical to meeting our climate change needs, really. We're going to be seeing variable water supplies, and we really need to get this water treatment plant up to the challenge of meeting that. The thing that when I first learned about this project that struck me, I used to work at Whitewater Voyages up San Pablo Dam Road, so I'm very familiar with the traffic patterns here, and I was like, oh my God, that's gonna be horrible. And then I thought, wait a minute, it's like 35 years from now. We're probably talking about if it happens. And we don't know what traffic patterns are gonna, work patterns, any patterns are gonna be like 35 years from now. Between, remote work and everything else that could change right now, we're a long ways away from actually deciding to do phase 2. And once we get closer to it, we'll have a way better idea of what it's gonna take to address the concerns. It's huge pipe. There is no way that it's not gonna have an impact, and there's no way we can put it anyplace else, because putting it anyplace else means tearing down houses and businesses, and that doesn't work either. So, we will do our, whoever's sitting in my chair 35 years from now, I can guarantee you will not be me. When we make these decisions, that will be certainly taken into.
Thank you.
So thank you all for the opportunity to
Excellent
present this.
presentation. Are there any more questions? Terry, I think you have your hand up first.
So when you do all the noise, the thing that you're gonna do, is it possible to send out a notification? So if I was looking at it, I think of a notification. So just maybe when you know when that's gonna be very impactful to the area, you can find, come back to the meeting and do something like the public.
Yes, of course, the
Don't surprise.
project is not being constructed, it's years out, and there will be additional notices to the public. We have our community affairs people, even for this TIR, we've sent out mailings, we've posted on Nextdoor, so there'll be further communications as the project progresses to the next phases of design and construction.
Yeah, I noticed you're gonna be tearing down a few structures. On La Honda and WA. Are those gonna be just gone and not replaced?
Yes, those facilities and the functions they provide will be moved on to the other side of Valley View where the other treatment plant,
Question. When you consider noise, is the noise of the actual operating facility taking into consideration, or is this just solely on the construction phase?
both are considered, both construction, when we say project, we're talking about the construction and the operation. So both were analyzed as part of the EM.
So it should be that, it should be
Yeah, I-
insignificant to the people living around.
Yeah, I
there?
can tell you that the construction noises are much higher. Well. Yes.
I live along San Pablo Dam Road there. Are we gonna lose water for an extended period of time, maybe replacing that big pipe?
Good question. We take facilities out of service all the time, for maintenance, for rehabilitation, for new structure, whatever. And we make the most concerted effort to not disrupt service. That's one of the things that we take pride in, is that we provide water 24/7, 365 days a year. So we'll do our best. Now, there are times when it can't be helped, there's no other option. We try to minimize that duration. We also notify those affected customers of
Nothing
when.
long term though. Just because I
nothing-
heard there's some big huge pipe being, has to be replaced.
Yeah, no, this is,
And I thought, someone said you're gonna lose power, water for an extended, like a month or two.
sure, the existing system, no.
Yeah, that would be awful.
Yeah, if this pipeline is constructed, which is still
Yeah,
to be determined. There is no facility that needs to be out of service during the construction, it's only when it's tied in at the end, which is a much shorter period of time, yeah.
George, had a question.
I did, it's a pipeline, it's gonna go along Dam Road, I'm assuming you're taking variables, because. What I understand, the point where Dam Road meets the freeway. There's some parcels of land that belong to Caltrans, and there's a potential where there's gonna be a type of. Redesigning project of that stretch of the road. So I don't know if you. I don't know if the district was aware of that potential. But I'm just saying that out in case you weren't, so.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Whenever we do work in Caltrans right away, we have to get a permit so that they're aware of what we're doing, coordinate with them. Also, we try to anticipate what that needs to be done, so actually there was an actual older project where we increased the size of the pipeline that we installed, knowing that we're potentially gonna do this in the future, so we try to anticipate, and we also work with other agencies to make sure that they're not confident.
Any other questions?
So is this just a tentative date, or is this something that if you guys can get everything passed through, you're gonna try to do a little push and maybe move the project date up a little bit?
The current schedule is our best estimation as today. We'll see how things go, but we'll do another revision of the schedule as design progresses. Right now, it's, maybe 5-10% design. As we get further along in the design, we'll look at the construction schedule, see where we're at, update the schedule, but as of today, that's our best guess.
The other way to think about it is this is one project of many, many, many projects that are going forward over the next 30 years or so. All of our treatment plants are undergoing significant upgrades, all of them. Orinda's in the middle of one right now. Walnut Creek is, I think, next in line, and then this will be after that. All of them are multi-year projects, and within that investment, we also have to think about what the financial load is of doing that without significantly having to increase rates. So it's not a straight line, hey, we designed, if even if Jay's team gets everything done and ready to go, that's probably not the driving reason for us to go early. If we were to, because of everything else that needs to be factored in, so. You have a question?
Any other questions for Chris?
Yeah, one is, I understood it's supposed to be like an incline, on the landscaping in front of this, that makes it so that you don't see as much of the, building. Now, I couldn't really see, the representation was kind of flat, so I couldn't see that, that's still there, right,
Yeah, those basins you're talking about along
Yeah, right.
the road, yeah,
Yeah.
they're actually over 30 feet in height, and what you see, what we're anticipating that will be visible is roughly around 4 or 5 feet or so on average. So most of it will be the low grade, and you won't see the vast majority of it.
Okay, thank you, and the second thing was, and Tom saying thank you, I really appreciate you changing the appearance of the place. You know, we were part of that, and you responded very well to the local criticism, or I should say. The second thing is when you say that you're gonna allow for pedestrian walks across the streets, you're talking about both, correct? I mean, in the, like 90 degrees, right? You know, one, at least one, we're not just gonna like have one way to get across the street, it's okay.
Yeah, we'll consider all the, there's usually a traffic plan and a pedestrian plan that's developed, and that'll consider the entire intersection. The number of pedestrians across or bicyclists, and yeah, it's an in-depth analysis, and we'll try to keep the most important ones open as feasible. Sometimes you can't help but close the entire intersection, but we do make our best attempt to keep traffic and pedestrian flow available.
And then the last thing is about the area at La Honda, that area, but there's an arts facility, one of them has just been expanded not that long ago. Now this is like a 30-second project, so I don't know, what's the idea of when we really what would be put in that area, so would they be left kind of as they are now? What's the other area?
Yeah, those existing structures will be demolished. As far as what it's gonna look like, that'll be developed further in the design process as they design landscaping plan and everything, so. And then who knows what the needs of the district are gonna be at that, you know, in the future, so. There might be some reuse of our properties as needed.
All right, thanks.
All right, if there are no, do we have any questions from our online attendees?
I was online, but not anymore. Surge with 12, couple of things. Did I catch it correctly that the EIR public review period is only like 18 days?
Oh, no, it started at the end of September, or, yeah, it's about 45 days.
Okay. Maybe more interestingly then, when you're working in the creek zone, I assume you're getting a stream bed operation agreement, because even though I assume you're doing directional drilling under the channel.
There'll be some trenchless, we have identified trenchless construction methods, the exact method will be determined further on in the design. And we will get whatever permits are required to do that construction.
Okay, and then in the same vein, you're gonna do it in the biological lockout period.
As one of the mitigation measures and part of the environmental analysis, we've identified that there's a potential for California red-legged frogs and western pond turtles to be present. And we're going to set up an exclusionary fencing area to keep those critters out of the work area.
Yeah, but so you're gonna be working in the summer though, hopefully? Or not committed to a particular period necessarily?
Right now, we don't know exactly when. We have a rough schedule, but that could change as the design progresses, and if need be, you know, we'll shift when we do it to meet any environmental requirements.
Right. So arguably the Fish and Game agreement would lock you into working not in the rainy season for the directional drilling.
We don't,
Relative to.
yeah, we don't know that at that point, it's so
So far ahead.
yeah, so.
30 years,
When we,
at least 30
when we
years.
get those permits, then those requirements will come forth through whichever agency, be it Fish and Wildlife, be it, or whoever we are required to. We will contact and get the appropriate to do the construction.
I see. Any further questions or?
Yeah, in the beginning, you said something about the treatment plant is open or functioning only during droughts or?
No, it's, Sobrante water treatment plant is typically operated in the summer when demands are higher. And also when we need to use our drought supply, that's a conventional water treatment plant, and so it's one of the treatment plants that can handle that drought supply. Our drought supply is, our normal supply is from the snow melt in Pardee, which is a lot less turbid. It's clear, it's cleaner, and so as you get your supply water that you're treating is a little more, as more organic in there, it becomes harder to treat.
So it's functioning all year.
It can be, typically it's in the summer, and then during drought operations, we turn it on, and also if we're doing outages, like one of our treatment plants are being worked on, and it's out of service, then we'll turn it on to the water treatment plant. So it's typically not all year round, it's typically during the summer, and the exceptions are during drought and during outages.
So the more the ambient noise to the neighborhood of a functioning one is pretty well.
Typically, it's operated just during this.
My other question is, what's the meeting about tomorrow?
Oh,
Same thing?
it's similar to this, but in more depth, more detail. Because we were limited to 10-15 minutes, we kind of tried to condense everything. Tomorrow it'll be more of a 30-minute presentation and a longer period for us to solicit comments from the public.
Well, I think we had a great discussion with a lot of.
So you said the phase one is to get it to its capacity of 60 million gallons per day, what's it currently? Like if it were to
Well, that's a tricky question. It depends on the source water that we're treating. If it's really turbid and it's kind of, needs to be cleaned up a lot, the capacity goes down. If the untreated water is a lot cleaner, we can get a higher capacity. But roughly, right now, this is about 44 million gallons per day, and we're permitted to 60. I mean, when it was initially designed, it was designed for 60, but since it was built in the 60s, we've had different regulations, the Clean Water Act came about, so standards have changed. And so we can't quite get.
you're operating like 2/3 and the hope is to get it.
Yes, full capacity.
So, thank you, excellent presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to mention our annual water quality report. Have you seen it? If not, it's live in living color. So I'm gonna leave some here, and then it's October's emergency preparedness. So we'll leave some of these here as well. So for everyone. Thank you. And I'll still be in the back if you have any community affairs questions.
So if you have further questions, Yanad is there, and I don't know if they'll be hanging around as well, or.
No, I was planning to, but. I'll be available tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next speaker will be, how do you pronounce your last name? Pulse. So just by way of introduction, I also belong to the Area Commission on Aging. And Matt came to give a presentation on the senior legal services unit that works for the county, and it was a great presentation, and it really went into a lot of the legal risks that our elders face, particularly from members of their own family. And Matt gave an outstanding presentation, and I wanted him to come present to us, and so that this really wonderful service is better known in our.
Thank you.
I think our folks need it.
Yeah. Is this the best place to stand over here?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Say hi, Matt. Hi, Matt. Thank you. That's my trick for helping you remember who I am. So,
You and alcohol.
Not anymore, let's say, alright, so, yeah, you had my deck there for just a second, there it is. So I'm with Contra Costa Senior Legal Services. Some of you in the coming decades will turn 60. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. When you do,
In there, done.
oh, welcome. The good thing about turning 60 is that everything that Senior Legal Services does becomes free. So if you or anyone you know or love has hit that birthday, please, and they need any sort of legal help, please send them to us, because that's why we are here. Let's turn the page. We don't need to read this. We have a mission. It's a great mission. We don't need to read it. We have a bunch of staff. There's 6 attorneys. Any of you know how many seniors, let's call that 60 and up, live in the county? Any of you know this?
A lot.
A bunch. It's almost 250,000. Of our county are older. And you won't know this either. I'm gonna tell you how many of them are below the poverty line. Probably didn't know that either. Almost 18,000, which is about the size of Pinole. So if you imagine that number of people are impoverished seniors in the county. Now, we don't only serve impoverished people, we serve anybody regardless of their income. The only thing you have to do is hit that 60th birthday and live in the county. And we will provide. Bill Gates, I checked, he's about 60, and I don't remember exactly how old he is anymore, but he could come and get our services if he lived in the county. We have 6 attorneys. I can tell you that is not enough for the number of seniors that we have in the county, but we do have 6, and we do everything we can with them. Next, let's see. Oh, here we go. 1 in 5, 20% of our county, and the number is growing quite fast. Unfortunately, not only is the number of seniors growing, but seniors make up the fastest growing proportion of our homeless population. If any of you have parents or grandparents in your life, I suspect you would rather them not be homeless. Sadly, too many of them are joining the ranks of the homeless on a regular basis. And we are one of the counties that has the largest proportions of older adults. Next. That's a lot of people. All right, let's keep going. Sorry, we're not gonna. I should have asked when I started. How long do you want me to talk?
If you give us a good 10-15 minutes.
10-15 minutes. We got it. I'm gonna keep trying to move past it. I kind of just talked about this. There was a national study of the legal needs of low-income folks. It was a national study. But if I take those national numbers and apply them to those seniors that I was talking about in our county, that almost 18,000 seniors probably, on average, would see about 7,000 serious life-altering legal issues, such as eviction. That would be a life-altering legal issue, in a year. That's what we should probably see in about a year. My agency is able to serve almost 1,000. We're like trying to get to 1,000. We're reaching about 1/7 of the critical needs. Now, actually, not all of the needs that we service are super life-threatening legal issues. People come to us for a non-threatening, life-threatening issue, we'll help them. So I'm trying to portray the idea that there's a lot of need out there in the world among our older neighbors. And we're doing our best to try to reach this, but there's a lot more need than is that our agency is able to. Let's keep on trucking. Lots of stats. And you have footnotes. Let's just keep going. I don't want to go over all those things. Let me talk through, this is about, we serve a lot of low income people. 49% of our clients, our older clients, have disabilities. About half of the older population are also classified as disabled. Just your body, I don't know if you know this, more depressing news, but your body doesn't get better and better as you get older, unfortunately. It tends to function less and less well. And for some people, it's dramatically less well, and that's just not fair. But so that's part of it. And then we just deal with a lot of lower income people. 62% of our clients, of the 1,000 or so that we work,
with are what are considered extremely low income, they're living on less than $30,000 a year. Which is, the fact that cost of living has been going down is really helpful to this stat. I'm kidding, of course, cost of living is not going down, that's probably not news to anybody here. Keep going. We serve people all over the county, let's keep going. This is a great story about somebody that we helped, but I'm gonna try to give you the 10-minute version here, not the hour version. So tenant issues are probably the biggest source of need, and that's not a surprise. Housing is super expensive in our whole Bay Area, the whole state, maybe the whole country. But it often hits our older neighbors harder when they don't have the ability to take a second job or do whatever else you need to increase your income. They're often retired, they're often on a fixed income, and when grocery prices or rent goes up, what do? You often are just in a pinch that you can't get out. And so we're often able to help people. The other thing that you may not know, if your landlord is a jerk, and I certainly hope that nobody here has a jerk for a landlord. If your landlord is a jerk, do you know who enforces the rules that landlords are supposed to abide by? Exactly, it's nobody. There is no agency that is tasked with keeping landlords to follow the rules. If you are able to, you can sue them, but suing them requires an attorney, and attorneys are not cheap. So we end up dealing with a lot. There's some great landlords that we deal with, and we deal with some landlords that are not the best. And we had this little old grandma who for like 3 years was trying to get her $1,500 deposit back. And this stupid, he was down in LA somewhere, not that I'm hating on LA or anything, but they were this distant landlord, and they just weren't responding to her. They just decided, oh, this $1,500 is mine now. So we were able, luckily, a well-worded, let me say that, letter that's signed by a lawyer can sometimes work some magic. And we were able to point out to them that there were consequences for not doing this, and we got the $1,500 check back for the grant. So that can happen. We have to help with small claims court when they need that. But we do a lot of stuff with which is keeping people housed. As I said earlier, it's a fast growing, unfortunately, part of our homeless population, but we almost like about half, so like maybe 550 to 600 of our cases are cases where we've helped people stay in their homes or find a new home. Maybe that home is really not going to be for them anymore, but we're able to find them. We think of it as a soft landing where we have to give them some time, ask the landlord to hold off on this eviction, give them some time, help them find a more sustainable place for them to live and get them. So that's a service that we have. Let's keep going. Sure.
Does that include like apartments moldy or something like that?
Yes. Yes, yeah, so habitability issues. So there's illegal evictions. There's often habitability issues. There's also what are called, sorry, my vocabulary is leaving me. Reasonable accommodations. So if a senior's mobility is lowering and they maybe need a rail in their bathroom now, but the landlord is just refusing to let them do that. We can intervene, ask for what's considered a reasonable accommodation. Usually that means that the landlord isn't paying for the rail. We're gonna take care of the rail costs, but the landlord's just like, no, I don't want a rail in my bathroom. We can get them to recognize that this is reasonable for this older person who can't, walk without help anymore, and we can get the railing installed. So that's a way to help someone stay in their home when otherwise they weren't able to really manage any longer. So there's a variety of issues, but they're all kind of around housing.
And would you subsidize that railing, for that example?
We don't, but there are some great other programs. We work within a network of other senior serving organizations that have lots of different kinds of resources. And the intake staff that I have in my office is amazing. You mentioned an issue to them, and they'll tell you 5 places that you can go to find the help that's necessary to take care of whatever that is. Among them, Meals on Wheels has a They have a great name for it, I can't remember right now, but they have a fund for helping housing stay usable. And so they can come in and do stuff, it's fall prevention, it's they have this whole thing. Let's go through a few more slides. Oh, let me stop, actually. So consumer laws, we do that, these people that are dealing with scams. Recently, there have been a couple of great movies about older people getting scammed. Did anyone see Beekeeper? It's like sort of a James Bond style, like, shoot 'em up and the hero comes in and saves it. But the villain, the Bond villain, was a scammer of old people. It was like, it had reached Hollywood. That was the villain's thing. Is that they weren't taking over the world or like blowing up Paris or something like that. They were scamming old people and they had this like huge call center of people just scamming older people all the time. And unfortunately, that's not a fiction. There are call centers like that. I did want to just mention advanced planning. So far, I've mostly been talking about things that I hope no senior ever has to deal with. But there's some stuff like advanced planning that every senior should deal with. How many people in the room already have their advanced healthcare directive? Good job. Is that a requirement for being on the council? You guys all have it. That's great. If you don't, we do it for free. And if you know anybody that needs one, we do them for free. How many people have their power of attorney, durable power of attorney? Look at that. This is an amazing council. You're joining an amazing group of people.
I have a number of a lawyer.
That's great, because we can do it for you for free for a while. And I don't want you to wait until you turn 60 to get our help, but if you know anybody who's turned 60, we do all that for free. We do wills for free, we don't, yes.
Wait, living trusts.
So we don't do trusts.
Just the power of attorneys.
And the advanced healthcare directives, and we do simple wills. So if like me or a renter, then a simple will is probably adequate for you. And we do those all day, every day. But if you own a home, then you probably need a trust, and we refer you to other people who may help with that. We do have referrals for that, but we do simple wills, so yeah. So that stuff, that advanced planning stuff is stuff that everybody needs. If your brother, your neighbor, or somebody needs that, please have them call us. I am leaving here a couple of amazing documents. This is a little brochure that tells all about our agency. I don't know if there's enough for everybody in the room, but come up and take one if you'd like. And this guy that I'm also leaving for everybody is more, if you're interested in helping, we need volunteers. On a regular basis, we need volunteers. So this is more a, how would you help us, kind of postcard, that if you know anybody who can help with that. All right, let's go through a couple more slides and then I'm gonna shut up. Elder abuse, that's what you were bringing up. So this is one of the saddest things. Again, a lot of the stuff we do, I wish no senior ever need, but unfortunately some do. There are, my attorneys can tell, I'm not an attorney. Did I say that earlier? I'm not an attorney. I play on TV, but I'm not an attorney. Elder abuse issues are some of the saddest because I don't remember what percentage of wealth in America is now owned by the boomer generation, the older generation, because whatever home ownership there is, a lot of older people, they still own homes. And unfortunately, family and neighbors start thinking of their grandmother or their aunt or whatever as a piggy bank. They're like, aha, that's where I can get money. Auntie owns a home, I'm gonna go figure out how to deal with this. And there was this awful story of this exact situation. A niece moved in with auntie, lived with her for a bunch of months, kind of became palsy with her, gained her trust. Said, hey, auntie, can you just sign these papers? I'm doing it. I don't know how she did it, but she somehow got auntie to sign some papers. And the niece became the owner of the home. So she promptly evicted her aunt and wanted to sell the house so that she could just take all the money out of the house. We were able to stop the eviction. We were not able to transfer the home back, but we were able to get it so that there was no possibility that she could actually evict her aunt. But that just someone would do that you would think of an older vulnerable person as a means to your own gratification just strikes to me as pure evil. Let's go through a few more slides and then, as I said, I'm gonna try to shut up. Let's skip all those numbers, those are fun, but no. So we do in addition to having one office in the county, which is out in Concord, we do work in every senior center that you know of and every library, so we do services right here at El Sobrante Library, we do services all over the county. If you called our office and you were looking for help, we would most likely be able to find a way for you to get help right in your neighborhood. We try to go out to every town in the county, so wherever you are, including right here in El Sobrante, you can get help there.
Where else do you go besides here, like this?
So, I don't know the senior center in El Sobrante, but there's the San Pablo Senior Center is pretty close. It's right there in San Pablo. Pretty cool, you know. And the Pinole Senior Center, yes, the Pinole Senior Center, there's 2 Richmond Senior Centers that we do more services out there, and the Richmond Library. So a lot of our, Pinole Senior Center and Pinole's Library, we've done stuff at. So we're at a lot of places, and trying to be at more. If you know a place, that has space, like a church or something that we could do work in, we would love to do that. So please contact me. We're constantly looking, one of our biggest struggles is too many people just don't even know we exist. I should have asked that. How many people before I showed up here knew there was a free legal services in the county? Not too many people. So this is one of our problems, is that too many people just don't even know we're here. And we are here, and we're free, and we're trying to make ourselves better known. Let's go through a few more, and we're, we hope we do, we will show up in court with you, we do eviction defense, we bring you all, keep going, let's just go through these fast. We do long service where we actually show up in court with you, and some of the service that we do is just, writing a letter, preparing a document, and we're done in 30 minutes, and we've helped you and you move on. So we do a whole variety of sort of depths of service for people. And sometimes it's just advice. Sometimes we just have to tell people like, oh, to solve that problem, you do the following things. Not advice I can give because I'm not an attorney, but some attorneys can come up with advice. Next slide. Next slide. Well, go back to this other slide. I want you to all know that you can, there's an agency in the county called Adult Protective Services. Anybody on the planet, probably not true. Probably if you're in Sri Lanka, you can't do this, but if you're anywhere in the county, certainly you can report suspected elder abuse. If you think there's a senior who might, and self-neglect is considered a form of elder abuse. So if you have a neighbor or whatever, and you're like, I'm not sure she's taking care of herself, you can report, and Adult Protective Services will check out the situation and make sure that person is safe. So there's that forum reminded me of that. There's a great website, it's something like Report to APS, and you can go there if you're just worried about someone or you think there might be something going on. They will check it out, and often it's just bringing resources to bear for grandma to help her out, whatever's going on. And I basically end up. Let's see if there's any other interesting slides. No, we don't want to read another case study. We have interpretation. So we have several Spanish-speaking attorneys. We have brochures in a bunch of languages. We have an interpreter service so that we can serve people from any language. There's like 50 languages on our interpretation service. So we get a person on the phone who can be the interpreter. We can do all the same things. Next. Next. We have a lot of partnerships. We work with a lot of different people. Next. Volunteer. We need volunteers. We always need volunteers. Take one of these postcards. Come help us in the office or even from your own home. If you know attorneys, no offense, but attorneys as volunteers can do things that other volunteers can't. So we would love more attorney volunteers if you happen to know any attorneys who are not evil people. And I mean, some are not, right? A lot of jokes about them, but some of them are people. All right, I think we're done. Any questions?
I just had one about the form where
Yes.
if it's a self-abuse thing, it's, how do you fill that out? Do you say,
You say, Mrs. Smith, my next door neighbor, I'm not sure, I see her buying a lot of cat food, she doesn't have a cat, or I'm just worried that she's like not taking care of herself.
no, I meant the actual, the form itself where it says who's asking for it and who needs the protection. So
you would say, like, and I don't remember if I think you could do it anonymously. You would say, I'm filling this in about Mrs. Smith, my neighbor. At this address.
Brian, can you pull up the slides again?
Oh, I think that form is not the form that I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I saw a form that reminded me of these other forms.
Alright.
Sorry about that. No, there is a form online that you can report suspected cases of adult neglect or other kinds of abuse, but I don't have a picture of it. Okay, great. Thank you all for being so attentive. I'm sorry for just going so fast, but I just didn't want to take too much more time off the agenda. If you have any questions or anything else, our phone number is in the handy dandy little brochure. It's on both things actually, and would love to answer any questions that you have. Have you ever come up with any? But just tell people, because just as I said, too many people just don't know we exist.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's been great to be here.
Yeah. So our final presentation item will be an update on the environmental testing going on at the El Sobrante Christian High School parking lot area.
Basic pass these out real quick and then I'll start it.
Are you John?
I'm Wyatt.
Wyatt.
John's on the.
Hi, everyone, I'm here.
Okay.
Ronnie, when you have a chance, can you pull up the slides? Yes. So good evening, my name is Wyatt Attack, and so we did talk last year, I think in September, October. About what was going on with the former high school. So the address is 5070 to 5098. It's about a 2-acre parcel land. So we had basically we had some contamination sadly from the former dry cleaners that we found out, and we were able to get apply and receive a grant from the California Department of Toxic Substances Control called the ECRG Equitable Community Revitalization Grant. It was called as a grant. And so I'll be talking about that. So I am the ECRG grantee manager for Central Assembly Church. Throughout the presentation, you'll see Central Assembly of Richmond. That's our formal name. We used to have a church in Richmond, and then in the 60s, we moved it to El Sobrante on 5070 Appian Way, which is at the corner of Argyle, right, just down the street. So I'll do some other introductions. On the Zoom, we have John Cromani of Craig Communications. He's the director of communications, and he's leading our community involvement. And then we have our contractor, which is Trinity Source Group. Brady Nagel is in the back, and he is serving as our project leader and helping do all the main contract work. Another person that we have on the Zoom is John Gamble. He's the vice president and he's the principal geologist. And we also have Devin Hutchings here from the DTSC. She's the communications strategist as well. So I wanted to kind of get some of those introductions out of the way. Can you do the next slide?
Wyatt, real quick, I want to note that Jacob Henry, the case manager from the water board, is also online with us here.
Oh, yes, sorry, yes, Jacob Henry is on as well, and he's with the San Francisco Water Board. So next slide. So the purpose is just to provide an overview of the environmental work to prepare the former high school site for future redevelopment into 100% affordable housing. In order to qualify for this grant, we needed to make sure that the intention is to do 100% affordable housing. And on the agenda, we're going to go over the site location briefly, the overview, the environmental work, next steps, any questions that you have, If you have questions during the presentation, no worries, you can feel free to interrupt and we can answer those as well. Next slide. So that's the site location, it's on Sobrante Avenue and borders Avenue Way and Valley View Road. So it's 1.9 acre site. Next slide. So this is just an overview, so Central Assembly Church operated the site as El Sobrante Christian High School and a middle school from 1996. It actually went to 2020 spring. June 2020 was the last month of that school was in session. It did close due to declining enrollment. And so the church, we no longer needed the property. And so in order to get the grant, you know, we needed to prepare it for future redevelopment into the 100% affordable housing. So we will need to find someone that can do that. And so this is a 2-year grant that will end February 2026. And it's just for the environment, it's just for the investigation, just to see how much contamination there is and what kind of grant we need to do a cleanup grant. Just to kind of let you guys know. And of course, this is through the DTSC, the ECRD grant. The grant is up to $2.2 million. Next slide. And so a lot of environmental work has been going on, especially this month, because we got a lot of the prerequisite requirements done just to make sure that Trinity Source Group could start on the environmental work. So before it was a high school / middle school, it did operate as a commercial shopping center with the dry cleaners. Some of the past use contaminant, sadly, there's some contamination in the soil with some petroleum products and some VOCs. And so this, just starting this month, Trinity Source Group is conducting a series of environmental investigations to figure out the extent of the impacts. And so there's 3 things that they are doing. They are installing soil vapor probes and also groundwater monitoring wells. They are collecting samples of soil, groundwater and soil vapor. And then they are using another company to scan the subsurface to create a 3D model of underground conditions as well. And so on a quarterly basis, through February 2025 and maybe sooner, God willing, they're going to be doing the quarterly soil vapor and groundwater monitoring, and they're going to be getting the data from all that to figure out the extent of what needs to get cleaned up, in short. Next slide, please.
You mean through February 26?
I'm sorry, February 2026, yes. So the grant goes through February 2026. The next steps, we're gonna use all that data to develop a cleanup plan to prepare the site for future 100% affordable housing. During this time, the community will have the opportunity to provide input on draft cleanup plans, and I'll talk a little bit more about that after these slides. And then we are gonna be keeping you informed via the fact sheet that I handed out. And we will have a presence at community meetings, events. We were at the El Sobrante Stroll recently. You may have seen us at the El Sobrante Christian School table with the Eagle. And so we had the fact sheets there. They are in the library. You can use your phone to scan the QR code, and there's also physical flyers there too. If you guys have any other suggestions on how we inform El Sobrante about the site, you know, we're more than happy to do things like that. We have been posting on social media through LinkedIn and the Central Assembly Church Facebook account as well. We've been in some hashtags and things like that.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
this is right next to the farmer's market, or that,
Correct.
so will you have a table there, will you have information there?
Yeah, I have emailed a couple times to the farmer's market, but I haven't
heard a response, but yeah, we could definitely do, you know, a couple of times this fall and do that as well, for sure. Yeah, so, and if you guys think like we should also do it in Pinole, because, you know, Pinole and Richmond are neighboring cities, we could do that, as well.
Is the housing development gonna create a traffic issue there? I mean, it seems like it would, that's not a really ample road for more traffic.
Yeah, and I think, you know, after this 2-year grant, you know, we're gonna be, you know, contacting the affordable housing developer to look more into that. And that's something that, you know, we'll have to do some surveys and get some more community involvement on like, okay, how many units of affordable housing is gonna be there and things like that. So right now, we just literally got the grant February this year. So we're literally just doing the investigational work. But probably come, you know, early 2026, we'll be probably looking at that, you know, attending more meetings like this.
Is it,
As far as that goes.
the church that owns the property that's developing it?
Yes, the church owns it.
Oh, okay, and so then they're just doing a project and then they're gonna sell the houses, or are they renting the houses?
Yeah, so the plan is to, it is to sell the property. And because, you know, with this grant, we had, the intention had to be 100% affordable housing.
So I think what we'd like to do is allow Wyatt to finish the presentation, and then we'll open it to questions.
Yeah, and the next slide, please. And so these are just some things how to stay informed. So on your fact sheet at the bottom, if you go to the for more information section, you can go to GeoTracker. You can click on that link there, and then you can type in, you search for 5098 Sobrante Avenue. I just kind of gave a little demonstration there, and that's one way you can be informed that the California State Water Board can give you updates as they upload them on the site. Can you go to the next slide? And so yeah, you type in 5098 Sobrante Avenue, you select it, and then you go to the next slide. And so that'll pull up the GeoTracker and all the technical information. If you want to sign up for email alerts, where the red arrow is, you just click on that button and go to the next slide. There'll be just a couple to fill out. You need to fill out your name and your email address. You click on I'm not a robot, and then you click on continue with sign up and the next slide. And so I recently did this, and so I didn't realize I was gonna get an email saying I have to verify myself again, so I just wanted to give you guys an example. You click there again, you click here to verify your email address, and then you're all set. So you can get GeoTracker emails and stuff like that if you guys want to do it that way. Next slide. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so that's basically it. As far as that goes, I also have just a sign up sheet. John Pramani with Craig Communications will be also sending out emails as well with our updates on the project. So if you guys want to stay updated via email, kind of directly through us, we can do it that way as well.
So thank you for keeping us informed of this. This is a really important project that occupies some real critical real estate in our area. So I'd like to open it up to questions from the council. George?
Okay, I want to make sure that I understand this process correctly. You mentioned the update. I think I must have missed that meeting. So we're in 2024. You have a grant. You are doing the work with water quality control to do remediation work at the property because of the dry cleaners, but not remediation. Well, okay. Oh, thank you. And so your project is apparently going to last the length of time that the grant lasts, which is until 2026. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the timeline is February 2026, the grant ends. We have to use any of the funds for the investigational part up until that period.
Starting next year, we'll be applying through, if the DTSC has a cleanup grant, which we are hoping they will. We will apply for it, or we will apply for a US EPA cleanup grant. And then, assuming we get one of those starting February 2026 or sooner, we can actually start the remediation, the cleanup, and we expect that to last, well, the estimate I've been given is 2 years on that.
So essentially,
So 2028.
2028, so that is the time at which the church, if everything goes according to plan, that the church will be able to sell the property, and then whoever purchases it will go through that process of doing what they need to get the permits, turn into housing, and also I'm going to assume demolish the existing structures there.
Correct.
So we're talking maybe something at like 2030?
Probably something like that, yeah, it's taken a long time from 2020 when we figured out, Danger Will Robinson, there's a problem, to 2030.
Okay, I was trying to get some semblance of a timeline, so it'll be another, basically, it won't be quite as long as the water treatment plant. But it will be a little while, the 5, 6, 7 years before anything happens. On the site that would involve housing.
Okay, can I just do you have any preliminary data, what's there and what levels?
Yeah, Brady, we have limited results, do you wanna share anything on that?
Very preliminary, semi-qualitative data. We've done some passive sampling of soil vapor. We just got the results, and they've just been uploaded to GeoTracker that show concentrations of dry cleaning solvents in soil vapor, but localized to the immediate area, so of the former dry cleaning. But that's just one media with one method. We still have to collect soil samples, groundwater samples, but the preliminary data from this first stage of assessment shows it to be localized very close to the immediate area of the former dry cleaning.
Going downhill.
It had to hit groundwater where we don't see an effect of groundwater flow on soil vapor from this work, but that's gonna be the next step is assessing groundwater. And see it, like you say, it flows down.
Further questions from the council, Nikki?
Will they be, as part of this, will they be demolished?
Eventually, yes, I mean, once we, would that be happening during a cleanup, would they be demolishing the buildings, or do you have any idea on that, Brady?
So we're gonna, it depends on
I guess it's
if remediation's funded, what is the remediation method? If it's excavation, obviously, but it's so early in the process.
I mean, to do the 100% affordable housing, they would need to demolish the buildings and things like that.
That's zero.
I think we could, I would like to protect.
I think you got some on owner.
Yeah, so, yes, right.
Does the property involve not only the shopping center and school property, but the neighboring property that goes to, like if you're looking at it, it would be to the left, that big field?
Yeah, so there's a field right here, that's
That's part of it.
former gasoline station. And we are actually doing testing there. The landlord did give us signed access to do testing there. So we
Is that a
actually are
separate
testing.
property?
It's separate, it's not our property.
Oh, okay.
But they did give us the authority to do that, so our contractor is doing environmental testing there as well.
Are there further questions from the council?
Kind of off subject, but I notice a lot of times that there's a lot of trash and homeless people that sort of vacate.
Yes.
Property, and I don't know if it doesn't seem to be as bad since they've been doing the work there, but is there anything that
You're paying attention,
Yeah, there has been break-ins into the property and things like that, and lots of vandalism and.
But since we're doing work there, we haven't seen it so much, just our occasional presence there with our Davo vest on.
like we have the property right on Grand Way, there's that little place it's been a homeless encampment off and on for a long time. And I think that finally got cleared away since you showed up.
I think we're, well, I've done a good job of clearing some debris, and we've been trying to keep that gate locked and providing access for the farmers market parking.
So yes, yeah. Yes.
It was planning justice that actually put up the initial, restored the chain on the Framway side.
Yeah, further questions from the council? If not, are there any questions for Wyatt on the floor?
Anybody online have any questions on this?
I have a comment.
Oh, please.
Well, thank you, I'm so happy to be here. Like you mentioned, I'm with the Department of Toxic Substances Control. And this grant, that Wyatt has is investigation, as we talked about, and moving forward, there's gonna need to be cleanup, so that means there needs to be more funding. And right now, the grant has allocated $120 million to projects all across the state of California, and due to state priorities, round 3 has been canceled or on hold for a while. So we're really happy to be in the Contra Costa community, and we'd really like to see this project push through. But making sure that's, we hear decision makers know that this is a priority and that this is something that needs to be done, needs to come from the community. So when you have those opportunities, please talk about this great project, because I'd really love to see it come to fruition on the shortest timeline possible.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, if there Serge, did you have?
Yeah, so just to characterize it, there's basically 3 phases. Now is the investigative phase, which is funded. But the remediate, whatever it is you find, you've already found something. It's not a 0, so there's a datum. You don't know how much more is going to be coming in, hopefully not that much. But the remediation phase is still going to need a successful grant capture.
Yeah.
Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, we're cash strapped as a church, so we're not able to obviously come up with those funds, so yeah, we will need to do, hopefully through the TSC, if a funding opportunity allows. The US EPA grants also have a lot of funding as well. And I did find out, I think it was a couple months ago, that we should be eligible for the US EPA grant for the cleanup. We have a tight window in which we have to do the environmental testing that Trinity Source Group is well aware of, but we will do our best to make sure we follow all the prerequisites so that we can successfully apply for that too. So, but there's multiple, I mean, through the US EPA and the DTSC, there are avenues that we can get it cleaned up. So
Thank you so much, Wyatt.
Thank you so much.
Update. So we'll move now into the next phase of our meeting, which is abbreviated public comment, so.
I have some.
Okay, so any items that are not on the agenda, 2 minutes per person.
I wish you had one quite so soon, because I was going to thank you say about it. So, El Sobrante had its first ever Pride on September 22nd. And we had a number of sponsors, including my former employer, who I thanked in public. I'll thank again here this meeting with the support. The event went as well or even better than we could have ever expected. The weather was perfect. We had a lot of vendors. We had lots of people there, lots of vendors, and got hundreds of people. The entertainment was great. The weather was wonderful. Good food. It was just brilliant, and it just showed that a lot of people are just supportive of that. And I was very, very happy because I'm the thing that was organizing it. And it's gonna come back next year on September 28th, 2025 at the same location. It was in Des Moines, aka Cheese Park, unfortunately, because El Sobrante doesn't have an outdoor facility that could accommodate such an event, so really silly notion. But it was great. If Dr. McLean were here, he would be saying the same thing, but kind of more. She was the stage manager of it, and just kept it going, and it all came together as it always does at the end. People like, oh my God, it's the best. And it did not, and everything happened, and it all fell together. Now we have our blueprint for next year. And we were very, very happy about it, so I just wanted to. It was great.
So I thought in that spirit, I would acknowledge, we also have the El Sobrante stroll on September 15th. And like Friday, it went really well, and I think we got upwards between maybe 20 to 25,000 people over the course of the day.
Including a new MAC member.
And yeah, so next year will be our 30th annual El Sobrante stroll, so it's our pearl anniversary. And yeah, so we're looking forward to having it next year.
It will be on September 21st. Because
Third
the third Sunday and the Pride event is the fourth Sunday, one right after the other, get the connection and have people like vendors come to both events, you know, see the green team at both events. And, oh, I should recognize Sarah because she was volunteer coordinator for our something.
I'd like to say about the date, because this came up in the date, it's already set, we're keeping it where it is. We know September is busy and it's because of who we have as the DJ and the we had to lock in a date, and so that date got picked. It's not changeable. Please don't ask us to change it. Because September is very busy, but it's just the way it worked out.
Yeah, and if you weren't able to attend this year, I'd recommend come next year because it's a great time. The DJ that Terry talks about, he's fantastic, just great.
So thank you, George and Terry. Are there other public comments, either from the council or from the floor? If going once, going twice. So we'll move into our discussion items, development plan applications, variance reports, etc. And we have one item to discuss. And this is a proposed development plan to construct a building with 5 residential units. This plan will be on a lot on Appian Way. So let me get my glasses. So it will be between the, let's say, I'm trying to find the streets here. There's Santa Rita and what's the other one? So it looks like it's just north of Santa Rita Road on the west side of Appian.
Yeah.
And so it's a big tree-lined lot. And they're going to be building a driveway, they're going to be fixing sidewalks in front of the property. And they'll have to remove at least 2 code protected trees. Is there any, can we project any of this up there? Just to show folks what the proposed development looks like.
Well, I don't think we have a representative of the
No. So it looks like it's a 5-unit project, 3,500 square feet. So it looks like, you know, 3,500 divided by 700 square feet or the apartments. Single story, so it's like a big, like almost like one of those old motels with like a little veranda in front of each door. Not much more to say about it. It seems to be avoiding a local seasonal creek. There's a seasonal creek on the property, but most of the construction seems to be far away from that. Tom, any comment on that?
I don't know if I'd call it far away, but it's probably within what Fish and Wildlife is gonna say is their limit.
I personally would like to know more about the endangered trees. It's something which I heard that would be.
So this is a conundrum we often run into, which is, we have these complex construction projects come up. And, we really love it if the architect or engineer were present. And I know you must reach out to them for the meeting.
I mean, if they're that interested in the project, you think they'd be.
Now you're just making sense.
So,
Oh, no.
So why are we spending a lot of time if they're not, willing to even show up? How do you reference it? I mean, when we had the planning committee, we don't have it. We would go out, see the property, we talk to the owners next to it, we don't do that. The only information we have is paper. And the person that is proposing. If you don't have the person proposing it, they haven't got the ability to come and present their thing to us, why should we recommend? I think you just hand it, until something shows up, and they don't show up, you don't recommend.
well, I think we can, in these cases, I think what we've done is said you can't come to a conclusion
Right.
about the project. And I think what we can do is list some of the questions we have.
Well, it might be something we might ask Mr. Mills to handle on our behalf. Because it says on this from the comments, the deadline for the comments is the 14th next week. So perhaps if we could develop what we want to say about it, he can relay it to the planner, Mr. Farrington. And say, hey, we brought it's been brought to the MAC, but nobody showed up, so MAC's like, you don't know what to say about it, so. Is that a good idea?
Well, I've done that in the past, so when we have these discussions, I write the planners.
Okay, all right.
And give the,
Somebody can.
so I'm just saying, simply the paper alone without, without a representative being present. Doesn't give us enough information to make a recommendation about this.
Specifically about the trees.
Yeah, the trees and just
Well, the one issue that came up was the
the
trees
trees, so.
and the traffic.
The trees, the traffic, the proximity to the creek. So we've got three things right there, and it's just listed, reach out to this individual, and I would recommend, in addition to emailing him, calling him. Because, I was asked to be a part of the survey about the noise ordinance, and I have a conflict, and I emailed him twice. That I can't do it, and he keep sending the mass emails, hey, we're doing this, like, dude, I said I can't do it. So that's why I'm saying reach out to him more than one method to cover your bases, so. As we said, just right now, we have three specific things that we're concerned about. And, traffic, trees, creek. Anything else that,
We can ask, of course, question is our role. The municipal advisory council, advising who? We're not advising the property owner, we're advising the council person that we talked to, which is John Joy's office. So is our role, the planning and zoning committee, when it was live, job was to report right back to the county, right back to the person named on this, but that's not our role as a MAC. The MAC is to advise the council person, we think this is good or not to advise the person owning it, not to advise the county. It's an entirely different role, so unless we're crossing over now and saying our role really is to do what the planning and zoning did, but that's not.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always seen it as what we're trying to do is give the community response as to the impact of the project. And based on the lack of a representative here and insufficient information, we don't really know how to assess the impact. There's a potential impact on the creek. That affects the quality of life in our community. There's a potential impact of traffic, given that there are going to be multiple cars going in and out on this really busy street. And then, the issue that Terry brought up, that endangered trees are going to be removed. And maybe there's an answer to all of these, but we don't know what the answer is because we don't have anybody, so we can't really recommend it.
So once we gather all that information, which is always difficult with the timelines that they give us from the county, because many times we get it. We meet once a month and the schedule's already passed. We get it when you it should have been done a week ago. So then, once we reconcile all this, where does our advice go? It's not the planning and zoning where we're going back to the county. We don't recommend it to them. We recommend it to the council person. So we recommend to Joya. Joya's gonna go to the county. I never understood that from the MAC as to what our role is when it comes to these property issues. Planning and zoning, I understood it, because that was our role when we had it, but it's never been the tax role. So and I'm not saying you have the answer, Tom, I'm just bringing it up as a protocol item of what our role is. What is, Randy asked that many times before he joined the committee, what are we doing? What's this committee doing? But and the council, and I think it's across border now, you're crossing into planning and zoning. When Tom tried to resurrect, and I don't think it ever went anywhere, I didn't.
So never heard back from either of the other two parties, so.
So either we get, it sounds like maybe either we get permission or do that planning and zoning part. To get permission somewhere from the council person, but I don't know that that's his role either, but you know what I'm saying, I didn't totally that.
I think what our role, as I see it here in the MAC, would be does it fit our plan, what we would like to see in that property?
I have no problem with that, Tom. My question is, who do you tell that to?
Well, we've been telling, you basically been responding
Get the plan.
to the planner and saying, look, this is what the community has to say about it, this is what the community, speaking through the MAC, thinks is the impact of this project is.
So
And-
just as long as we get it back to John also.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
And I copy it to Ronnie when I send it in,
That's the-
and that's how it gets.
And I guess what I'm looking for, Ronnie, is what the supervisor says. What is our job in that respect? I've never heard him say it. Okay, he's never said to us, that worked fine, or that doesn't work fine, we just do it, right? The question I have is, if it goes to him, is it his responsibility because we're advising him? That's who we're advising, we're not advising the community, we're advising him. He appointed us, we're the members of his advisory group, again, for us advice. So if we have a property, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, right, you don't know the answer either, probably, but I'm just saying, if in fact that's who we're supposed to be advising in these property things, then what's he gonna do with the information? It's not our job to send it directly to the county, to this planner, or wherever it is with the county, to say, this is what the committee thought, but by the way, we don't have any authority, you ought to talk to the supervisor because we really advise him. I mean, that's ridiculous, but I think it crosses the boundary. Well, I think I don't think that's where our role is, but I'm not trying to obviate the role, but if you're going to take on the role, it ought to be like the planning and zoning did. It ought to be the people go out on the property, it ought to be talking to neighbors, it ought to be doing all that stuff. Okay, and demanding that the person be here, otherwise forget it, that's the first goal, and then if we're gonna do it the right way. You know, this is, I'm confused by the whole rule that we have in that regard when it comes to property.
Well, it's a comment request, so all of these entities are checked off on these boxes. I know that, but the thing of it is, they have to notify everybody, because you know what, they're building a project that doesn't, apparently they have frontage, so they don't have water service yet. So East Greenbelt needs to know about it. Harry needs to know because it's wastewater. The city, they said the city of Richmond because it's a sphere of influence, you know, they have all of these things, they have to notify us, and as to. I think it's not the question of us being notified, it's the question of the timing of the notification and what happens to it after we respond to the notification. You know, so that might be, perhaps, maybe, for our next report, next month for the supervisor's report, that we have maybe get some clarity or clarification on what exactly we are supposed to do with this. I mean, it kind of depends on the project too, because we had the one that was at the top of not Hillcrest, the other one. I'm like, no, the name of the street, the one that's right there and goes up the hill past the artistry.
Go past where?
Lalone?
Yeah, that one, yes.
Can you straight
Just go up and you go across.
Yes, that one, yeah, yes, because right at the top on that street up there, there was that person who had the land and wanted to do all sorts of crazy stuff on that lot. And like 40 people showed up and said, this is crazy. So, you know, and we said, you know what, you're right, because we went and looked at the property, this doesn't make any sense. I did. But, you know, in something like this where there's nobody here to say, hey, this is our project, we're doing this, it's different. But it still needs to have some clarity as to
what we're actually supposed to do with this.
Yeah, what
I mean, like I said, what I've always done is just said, look, this was discussed in the SMAC. This is what, by our judgment, the impact on the community is. This is what was discussed, this was what was mentioned by council members, and this was part of the discussion on the floor. And, you know, say, I've said in the past in these emails, the project was not supported by the council for these reasons. And others, the council had no objection. And others, the council was supportive and thinks that this project will enhance the. And I think, you know, if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to respond to the planner. That is simply, we have concerns about the following issues, no one was present to address.
And it's
And
one
we
other,
can't make a recommendation in support or against.
but one other concern is I don't think it really follows the plan of what we envisioned for Avian Way. That might be a big issue. That's the issue that probably we should talk about.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be talking, from my point of view, we shouldn't be talking about the planning and zoning things we used to talk about. We shouldn't be talking about the water source, the sewage source and all that,
Right.
all that stuff. That's not our job. The job is, does it fit in? Is it something we would want us to
Yeah,
That's
what I think our job is.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to say.
you know, and if we do that, then I think we're doing within the context of what we're supposed to be doing. And not be detailed on all these other issues about streams and that kind of thing. The question is, does it fit? Is this something we want us running? And that's a different question.
So, but I think, you know, by the same token, is it fair to say that one concern that we have by virtue of how it integrates into El Sobrante is the traffic that potentially 10 cars could cause by going in and out of that driveway
Yeah.
onto the super busy street, that's one aspect.
Right.
Trees, you know, it's part of our kind of quality of life here.
Yeah.
As is the creek, right? You know, if something happened to the riparian, you know, damage the riparian environment there, that I think
Yeah, that's true.
is a major thrust of our community to preserve those creeks.
Yeah, if you center around that, that makes me feel much more comfortable, Tom. Because then it's about the community, it's not about the specific issues of that piece of property. Not about, does it have a driveway, does it have, any, you know, where's it, does it have a setback and that kind of thing, that's a different issue. The question is that something that is gonna cause our community trouble?
Okay.
Yeah, or
So-
that's the things we don't know.
If I send Grant Barrington an email along those lines I just mentioned, is that gonna be okay with people?
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
So.
Because it seems to me like what your real function, which is a real meaning, but a major function, is it gives the community an opportunity to present their concerns. And the fact that there are no people here, I don't always feel like every project should have to be represented by something coming to talk to the board. To generally just looking for, you know, does the board think it's would like to see a change or not, and if they want to see a change, it goes to the supervisor rather than negotiate that. But what it really is important for is for people in the community who do have an issue to be able to come here. And so my concern is, I don't know how the local community is informed about when these issues are coming before the MAC. You know, because in a way, I would expect the board members themselves to be aware of each and every property to the point you would have an opinion about it. But, you know, it is a matter of having people who do live approximate to it, maybe give you a chance to come in and express their, and then you can still look and pass it on. So that was just kind of my.
Sure. Ronnie, when did we get the email about this?
They sent out the Friday before the meeting, so last Friday.
So we didn't get a lot of time.
Well, that's when we got it. When did it arrive?
I'm about to do some digging, but earlier in that week, if not.
Yeah,
before.
it's not a lot of time for us to do anything with.
Yeah,
But I think, you know, in the past, there have been construction projects where a representative has shown up. And that's been incredibly helpful, right? Because that person has been able to give us, you know, kind of a real picture of what the project looks like once it's built and kind of how traffic flows and, you know,
And the problem in this situation is you've got questions and they're unresolved.
No way.
Therefore, therefore it's hard to kill it.
But the thing that you bring up, Chris, is a question about how does the community connect? We get it on an agenda for our meeting.
At the last minute.
Or at the last minute, I mean, that's where you're gonna get it. How does the community get it? What if it's somebody around that property that goes, oh my God, I wanna go and hear about this, I wanna go in there and tell them that I don't think it's a good idea. Because they're gonna cut down some oak trees that are protected or that a lot of traffic, that'd be great. If we heard the people that are gonna be individually impacted by it that live close, rather than us looking at entire context. But I don't think we have enough time to get it out to anybody,
Sometimes a lot of people do show.
Well, that's what, melanoma.
Yeah, that one.
So, I think we have we know how to move forward with this. MAC information items. There, then, subcommittee, feel like to. How's that?
The only committee.
Yeah.
That's the only subject.
So, I'm proud to say that the contingent in the stroll parade won the Outstanding Spirit Award. That was a lot of fun.
Thanks again.
And we were able to give them a lot of information, and it seems like the community is starting to be aware of the green team, we sat and honors. The next weekend, we had the coastal cleanup day, and it was a really well organized event, it was really nice. The only thing is, we didn't have a lot of people there, but we inspired, yeah, we were ready, and thank you to the Lanes, we had plenty of nice new gloves. And it was just, but that all said, it was really a good cleanup, and I think we made a difference on that day and on the streets and the creeks as well, really. So we're keeping that up, and to be fair, we also had a lot of competition, which is the cool thing. That other communities have decided to do their own coastal cleanup days in their areas, which may draw people out, but we're happy that, regionally, we're making a difference and our efforts are spreading out, we're happy with that. So next cleanup day is next Saturday, it's Saturday, October 19th, as usual, 10 to 2. And right here at the library, we're all invited to do this. Make a difference that. That's it, anything else? We need to have a subcommittee. Oh, yeah, we'll have to set up, it's maybe before the end of the year, let's get another subcommittee meeting, Chris.
Yeah, we have a new postcard. Ready to go, and also, because of the issue around the Pride Day stroll and our event, for the coastal cleanup, I'll be within this 1 week. We didn't have a separate program for the coastal cleanup this year. And so now it sounds like, I presume that the Pride Parade will be moved into June or whatever.
It's not.
No, we said it.
Yeah, no, I guess, so this is kind of new information we haven't, because this year it worked out so that was the third Saturday was after the stroll, and this next year it sounds like it's gonna be the other way around, and so we're just gonna have to juggle something on that, but I'm glad to at least know that the permanence of that September date, because we were I personally, I was presuming it was just gonna be moved to a different month this year, so thank you for that.
Yeah, so it looks like next year, the third Saturday cleanup is the day before the stroll instead of.
And I guess one other thing, Ray, is there another dumpster day, we have a timeline for dumpster days?
No, we only have an allotment of 16, and so that's spread throughout the district, and so we're running on our last few that have already been accounted for, so we won't have any until next year.
Should we get a schedule for next year or something?
I'm working on that, so once I get that, then I'll definitely work.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna have another big event. My coastal cleanup day is It'll be, yeah, the day before, it'll probably be the day before anyway, and we'll just probably keep it, but maybe not, maybe we'll just go to one major event a year, which is Earth Day, and that doesn't seem to conflict with anything else over here.
It's a big election season, so. People are out, canvassing and stuff like that, so a lot of the people that are doing that are your normal volunteers.
Yeah.
There's no one.
Yeah, that is kind of an issue, it's like people think of the green team because, you know, we're all good caring people who care about our community. But now, you know, people call us up and say, oh, can you help us do this in a whole other place altogether? Can you help us do this and can you help us with that? So, we just need more volunteers.
Success is a
Basically, yeah.
You just do good at what you do.
So, I'd like to make a really bold proposal, that we adjourn.
Hey.
Well, you don't have to propose it, Tom, you just do
Are
it.
we supposed to, but wait, are we supposed to do like agenda items?
yes, and public
Oh, well, I think we already.
We already got it?
Well,
He changed it.
oh, you were
We moved it up.
Oh, there is another one there too.
yeah, well, the agenda, as you know, that next month, the East Bay will be back to talk about their. Non-payment residential, whatever it is they're doing with the qualifying benefits. So that's one, and I don't know anything else, and. We already asked Ronnie to have John give us some clarity on our role in the. Planning and development things, and we'll come up with other things, probably something else will go, maybe.
Maybe sheriff report, that'd be nice.
Well, yeah, they want, the sheriff was in control with it. We want the. If you could ask Supervisor Joanna to, see if he can reach out to his contacts so that we can get somebody from the CHP.
Yeah, I have a direct contact. Unfortunately, they are very short staffed, especially because they have to cover all of the Oakland also.
I understand that.
So I've spoken to the contact specific for this area, and he essentially told me the same thing, like they're trying to get me out there as often as they can.
Tell them it's been a year.
I told him, but lean team, and they have to cover not just for Sobrante, but.
How about this? Can they, if they can't make it in person, can somebody provide a report or be on Zoom or something? Because we keep seeing all the things on the social media about the speeding up and down Dam Road. And they're the ones that patrol Dam Road, and they're not here. We can't tell them, you need to set up a little patrol to deal with the speeding on Dam Road.
Yeah, these are the concerns that I've spoken with them about 2.5 weeks ago, and so, again, they're running a very lean team and they have a very large area to cover. But one good thing, we did get the traffic, what's that thing called, speed? Yeah, out there on Dam Road, so. Yeah.
So still getting made accidents.
Yes, that's.
There's that one with that flip phone there. And
You know,
does it make sense to have anything like about Xfinity or AT&T, any of the service providers for our area that keeps having outages?
no.
Does that not make any sense?
Well, it does, but it's not in our purview, so something that's in our control, we can do anything about. So.
Sorry, just having.
We can ask them to explain.
Or as my wife said, why does the thing keep going round?
Okay, did you want to adjourn now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
Hey, Ron.
So basically, so.
Before 9, so.
Yeah, and all the places where they were getting.
That's.